As a new critic, I want to explore how the differences in structure would change what kind of person would read Pinter's play Betrayal. Here is a list of what a standard structure would be like if you were reading a book. Basically, there's a problem or something new is introduced in the story, which changes the story's original routine, which is where the characters begin to deal with those problems and cope with them, and they finally face off with them. But then they have to go back and cope a little bit more, and then they finally face off, and then they show them in the epilogue where they're supposed to be all happy and or maybe not. Here is me putting up a list of what Pinter's standard would be in his structure, or how he formatted his book. So basically, instead, he starts with an epilogue, and that's whenever Emma and Robert meet each other again. That's what they start with. And then they finally faces off just a little bit later in time, where Jerry finally confronts Robert about him and Emma being together. But then it goes back in the past, and it shows Emma and Robert missing their friend Jerry, and Emma having to deal with her breakup. Then it goes even farther back to show when Emma rips off the Band-Aid and just tells Robert that she's been with Jerry. And then it goes further back to show when Emma copes with choosing whether or not she wants to be with Jim. And then there's the introduction of showing Jim and Robert's friendship at the beginning of the story. And then there's the change that Jerry starts to feel guilty about being with Emma. And then he ends it with his prologue where Jerry finally confesses his love to Emma, which is kind of basically the reverse side of what the standard would be. Here is a diagram that I made to show the connections between a standard structure and Pinter's structure that he uses in his book Betrayal. When you take Pinter's structure and you kind of mush it together with what a standard structure would look like, it's basically flipping it upside down, which makes it become really, really depressing. So, I basically gave you that example. I'm showing you right now. So first, it would start with a prologue where the guy asks the girl, or gets the girl, and then Robert introduces Robert and Jerry's relationship. And then Emma gets pregnant and wants Jerry, and Jerry starts to feel guilty. Emma tells Robert about their relationship. Emma and Robert deal with that pain. Jerry ends it with Jerry ends it with Emma, and then they finally meet again, and then she finally tells him, Robert, I told Robert last night. But then he goes and confronts him about it and finds out, Emma's actually a really bad person and lies about it. And he should have basically been with Robert all along, which is ironic. So when applying this to reader response theory, it's pretty depressing to hear about someone's downfall. So that's why I think Pinter wanted to show the audience a different point of view that wasn't really about a couple trying to get together, but more about a couple that doesn't end up together in such a structure that kind of makes you think about how the characters would have looked back on their past, which also probably was why it's so complicated. It's such a complicated structure, because it's also really complicated whenever you look back on your past.